Chosen one, have you ever felt the weight of betrayal? The sting of those who secretly plotted against you, believing you wouldn't see their schemes. They thought they could break you, push you to your limits, and watch you fall. They sharpened their knives in the dark, thinking you were an easy target. But what they never expected was the power that resides within you. Their arrogance led them to believe they controlled the game, that their lies and manipulations would bring you to your knees. They underestimated you, thinking your silence was weakness, that your patience was fear. But here's the truth. They never saw coming while they played their dirty games, you were growing stronger in silence. God's hand was with you, guiding you through every struggle, every attack. You are not alone in this battle. God is right there with you, empowering you to rise to overcome. The very forces they thought would destroy you are now working to reveal their downfall. Their empire built on lies is crumbling around them, and they don't even realize it yet. The storm they tried to unleash on you is now a storm that is tearing through their own world. They were so focused on you, they forgot that divine justice is not a force that can be controlled or stopped. It moves silently, and when it strikes, it is swift. The truth is, their downfall was never an accident. It was never just bad luck. No, it was God's justice catching up to them. And now, you're standing stronger than ever, because you were never meant to fall. You, chosen one, have been through so much, and yet you are still here. Your strength, your perseverance, your faith. These are the things that will see you through. Their lies cannot define you. Their schemes cannot defeat you. You were built to survive the impossible, and now it's time for you to rise. Your journey is just beginning, and the best part, you didn't have to fight back. Your silence became their worst nightmare, and God's justice is unfolding before your eyes. If you've ever felt the sting of betrayal, the weight of their schemes, and still found the strength to rise, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop $9.99 in the comments. This is the energy of final judgment. The tables are turning, and there's no going back. Let's break it down step by step. Because if you are truly one of the chosen, you'll feel the pull to stay until the very end. The enemies of the chosen one, blinded by their arrogance, thought they held all the cards. They believed that through lies, manipulation, and deceit, they could control and ultimately break you. They stacked the deck in their favor, convinced that you were just another obstacle to be crushed beneath their feet. With every word they whispered, every scheme they devised, they thought they were writing the final chapters of your story. But they were wrong. What they never anticipated was the fire within you, the unshakable force that was always there waiting to rise at the right moment. They were so sure of their power, so certain that their influence and connections would ensure their dominance over your life. But in their pursuit of control, they made a fatal miscalculation. They thought they could break you, but they underestimated your resilience, your ability to endure, and most importantly, your strength to rise above it all. They believed that because they had wealth, status, and influence, they were untouchable. They were masters of the game, pulling strings behind closed doors, manipulating events to serve their own agenda. They saw your silence and thought it was a sign of weakness, that your patience was a reflection of fear. They mistook your stillness for surrender, assuming you were powerless to stop their plans. But what they didn't understand was that true power doesn't need to be loud or brash. True power moves in silence steadily, and unrelenting like the calm before the storm. They believed they could shatter you with their words, their actions, and their lies. But what they failed to realize was that each blow they struck against you only fortified your spirit. Their deceptions were like the wind against a tree, pushing, bending, but never breaking its roots. Every time they tried to cut you down, you simply grew deeper, stronger, more rooted in your purpose. Their false sense of superiority blinded them to the reality that they were playing a game they could never win. They thought they had it all figured out, that their wealth and power were enough to crush anyone who stood in their way. But they couldn't have been more wrong. They mistook you for someone who could be defeated by their petty schemes. What they didn't see was that your strength was never meant to be understood by them. They couldn't fathom the depth of your resilience, your unwavering belief in a higher purpose. While they were busy building their empire on lies and deceit, you were quietly becoming the force that would tear it all down. In their minds, you were just another target, a stepping stone on their path to greater power. They couldn't see that you were not a victim to be broken, but a storm waiting to be unleashed. You were never meant to be crushed beneath their feet. You were meant to rise above them, to show them that their illusion of control was fleeting. Every attack they made, every attempt to break you, only made you stronger. It was in their pursuit of your downfall that they set the stage for their own destruction. They built their empire on betrayal, on manipulating others to serve their needs, and they thought they could escape the consequences. But what they failed to realize was that their empire was built on sand, and when the storms came, it would collapse beneath the weight of their own lies. The turning point came when they began to see the cracks in their perfect plan. They thought they had already won. They thought they had pushed you to your breaking point, that they had broken your spirit and bent you to their will. But they didn't understand that you were never meant to break. You were meant to rise, to transform, to evolve into something they could never control. Every lie they told, every trap they set, only made you stronger, more determined, more resolute in your purpose. They thought they were the ones in control, the ones who held all the power. But they were wrong. The true power was always within you, waiting to be unleashed. And when that power was finally set free, their world began to unravel. As the walls of their empire began to crumble, they realized the fatal mistake they had made. They had underestimated you. They had thought they could manipulate you, deceive you, and break you down. But in their attempt to destroy you, they had unknowingly set their own downfall in motion. The same tactics they used to manipulate others were now being used against them. The very lies they told were coming back to haunt them. The same traps they set for you were now trapping them. They were scrambling, desperate to maintain control, but it was too late. The storm they thought they could weather was now a force they could no longer escape. You, chosen one, were never meant to be a victim of their schemes. You were meant to be the catalyst for their downfall. Every step they took to try and destroy you only brought them closer to their own demise. They believed they were in control, but what they failed to see was that their power was always temporary. You were the house, and in the end, the house wins. No matter how much they stacked the deck in their favor, no matter how many lies they told you were the one they could never defeat. Their attack backfired, and now they are facing the consequences of their actions. The chosen one does not break. The chosen one evolves, and now, as their empire collapses around them, you stand tall, untouched by the chaos they tried to unleash. They believed they had already won, but in the end, it was you who would have the last laugh. The storm that was meant to destroy you is now the storm that is tearing their world apart. And you, chosen one, are only getting started. The enemies of the chosen one thought their attacks would be swift and decisive, but they failed to understand one crucial truth. When malice is unleashed into the world, it always finds its way back. The hatred they cast into the air, the betrayals they orchestrated, the lies they told, these actions would not simply disappear into the void. No, they would come back sharper, faster, and more destructive than ever before. Like a boomerang, their dark deeds would return to them, exacting the price for every ounce of pain they tried to inflict. They believed they could escape the consequences of their malice, but they were gravely mistaken. The relentless force of divine justice is not something that can be avoided or manipulated. It moves with precision, and when it strikes, it does so without mercy or hesitation. Every action they took against you, chosen one, set in motion a chain of events that would inevitably lead them to face the consequences of their own making. They never stopped to think about the long-term effects of their actions. In their arrogance, they believed they could stack the deck in their favor, that their wealth, power, and influence would protect them from the wrath of divine justice. They thought they could pull the strings from behind the scenes, orchestrating your downfall while remaining untouched by the chaos they created. But what they didn't realize was that karma, the force of divine justice, is not bound by time or circumstance. It does not discriminate between the powerful and the weak, the rich and the poor. It relentlessly pursues those who act with malice, and when the time comes, it delivers its retribution with a force that cannot be stopped. Every lie they told was like a stone thrown into the water, creating ripples that would only grow larger with time. Every scheme they devised, every betrayal they executed, only added fuel to the fire of their eventual downfall. They thought they were in control, manipulating the world around them to suit their needs. But they failed to realize that the moment they set their plans in motion, they began to set the stage for their own destruction. They believed they were untouchable, that their actions would go unnoticed. But the truth is, nothing escapes the eyes of divine justice. It watches patiently, waiting for the right moment to strike. And when it does, it hits with the force of 1,000 storms, washing away everything they thought they had built. The chosen ones' strength, resilience, and unwavering belief in divine purpose were never meant to be defeated by their schemes. While they believed they were pushing you into a corner, breaking you down with their lies and manipulation, you were silently becoming the storm that would tear through their empire. Every moment of suffering, every attempt to break you, only made you stronger. You were not buried, you were planted. And now, as the storm of divine justice begins to gather, those who tried to destroy you are finding themselves trapped by their own actions. It is the most brutal truth of all. Those who sow malice will reap destruction. And no matter how long it takes, no matter how many years they believe they have left, the consequences of their actions will always find their way back to them. The moment they chose to betray you, to seek your downfall, they unknowingly set the course for their own demise. They thought they could manipulate the universe, But what they didn't understand was that the universe has its own way of balancing the scales. The weight of their actions would come crashing down upon them, and they would have no escape from the consequences. Divine justice doesn't strike blindly. It is not an unpredictable force wreaking havoc at random. No divine justice is surgical, precise, and unstoppable. It doesn't act in anger or rage. It simply exists to restore balance. It is the force that ensures that every action, whether good or bad, has its equal and opposite consequence. When the enemies of the Chosen One launched their attacks, they were unaware that they had already sealed their fate. They believed they could escape the consequences of their malicious actions, but they failed to realize that the more they sought to harm you, the more they sealed their own downfall. Their lies, their betrayal, their manipulation, it was all set in motion, like a clockwork machine ticking away until the moment when divine justice would reclaim what they had taken. Now, the consequences of their actions are closing in on them step by step. Their empire, built on lies and deceit, is slowly crumbling beneath their feet. The walls they built around themselves, designed to shield them from the fallout of their choices, are beginning to crack. Every lie they told, every betrayal they orchestrated is coming back to them. The power they thought they wielded with ease is slipping through their fingers, and there is nothing they can do to stop it. Divine justice moves with quiet inevitability, and when it strikes, it leaves nothing behind but the ashes of their former power. They believed they were untouchable, that no one could ever bring them down from their high perch. But now, they are watching in horror as everything they once took for granted begins to slip away. The very foundation of their empire, built on manipulation and control, is beginning to crack. The lies they told are now exposed, and the alliances they once relied on are dissolving. The consequences of their actions are becoming impossible to ignore, and they are helpless to stop it. They thought they could play the game, that they could control the outcome, but now they are the ones caught in the trap they set for others. Divine justice is a force that cannot be outrun. It doesn't matter how much power, wealth, or influence they have, it can never shield them from the consequences of their actions. And now, as the storm of divine justice gathers strength, they are finding themselves unable to escape the consequences they so richly deserve. Every step they took to manipulate, deceive, and harm others is now coming back to them in full force. The lies they built their lives upon are collapsing, and there is no escape from the retribution they now face. The Chosen One, on the other hand, remains untouched by their chaos. You were never meant to be defeated by their schemes. You were meant to rise above them, to stand tall in the face of their attacks and show them that their power was never real. Divine justice is not about revenge. It is about restoring balance. And in this moment, balance is being restored. The enemies of the Chosen One may have thought they could control your fate, but they were wrong. The forces of divine justice are at work, and they are unstoppable. As their world crumbles around them, they will finally realize that the downfall they tried to orchestrate for you was never in your hands. It was always in theirs. They built their empire on betrayal, on lies, and on malice. And now, the very things they thought would protect them are turning against them, bringing them to their knees. The consequences of their actions are closing in, and there is no escape from the storm they have created. You, chosen one, have already risen above them. You are untouched by their chaos, and their downfall is a testament to your strength and resilience. Divine justice is not about revenge. It is about restoring balance. And in this moment, the balance has been restored. They are now reaping the consequences of their malice, and you are standing tall, stronger than ever. Their empire is falling, and there is nothing they can do to stop it. The storm is here, and they are caught in its wake. The time has come for divine justice to unfold, and they will pay the price for every attack they made against you. As the storm of betrayal and manipulation raged around you, chosen one, you stood in silence. To those who sought to break you, to those who believed they could manipulate you, your silence was a mystery. They mistook your patience for weakness, your stillness for surrender. But in reality, it was a strategy, one far more powerful than they could comprehend. While they plotted, while they schemed, while they made noise, you were quietly planting the seeds of your triumph. They thought their attacks would destroy you, but all they did was bury themselves deeper into their own deception. They believed they had the power to control you, to control the outcome of your life. But they didn't realize that in their attempt to crush you, they were only digging their own graves. It was always in the silence that your strength was built. You didn't need to fight their battles, didn't need to play their games. Every time they threw a stone, you stood firm, letting the stones fall harmlessly at your feet. Every time they tried to strike, you didn't flinch. You allowed them to reveal their true nature. You gave them enough rope to hang themselves with their own lies to show the world who they truly were. They didn't know it, but the more they tried to break you, the more they set the stage for their own downfall. Their empire, built on deception, manipulation, and cruelty, was slowly crumbling, and they didn't even see it. They believed their wealth, their connections, and their influence made them untouchable. They thought they could control everything, that they could bend the world to their will. But they forgot one thing: nothing lasts when it is built on lies. The empire they had spent years constructing was fragile, built on false promises, backroom deals, and a foundation of betrayal. They couldn't see that their empire was only as strong as the lies that upheld it. And when those lies began to crumble, so did everything they had worked so hard to build. While they were busy fighting, scheming, and struggling to maintain their control, you were rising. You didn't need to compete with them to engage in their petty games of power. You didn't need to prove anything to anyone, because your very existence was proof enough. Their attempts to break you, to bring you down, were futile. Their efforts only made you stronger, more resilient, more focused on your purpose. As they tried to tear you apart, you were building yourself up, layer by layer, until you were unbreakable. The more they attacked, the more they revealed their own weaknesses, until their facade of power began to crack. The downfall of their empire was inevitable, a consequence of the path they had chosen. They were consumed by their own need for control, their obsession with maintaining their power. But what they didn't understand was that real power isn't something you can manipulate or control. Real power is something that comes from within, something that can't be taken or destroyed. It is the force that drives you to keep going, even when the world tries to stop you. It is the strength to rise after every fall, the resilience to keep moving forward when everything around you is crumbling. And that power, chosen one, is something they could never take from you. As their empire began to fall, it became clear that their power was never real. It was an illusion built on manipulation, fear, and lies. They had surrounded themselves with false allies, people who only served them for their own gain, people who would abandon them the moment things began to unravel. The alliances they thought were unbreakable began to fracture. Their supporters turned their backs, and the walls they had built around themselves began to collapse. Every lie they told, every manipulation they used to control others was now coming back to haunt them. The consequences of their actions were closing in, and there was no escape. Meanwhile, you remained untouched. While they were scrambling, desperate to salvage what was left of their empire, you were steadily rising. Their attempts to bring you down only pushed you higher, closer to your true purpose. The more they tried to silence you, the more your voice grew louder. The more they tried to bury you, the more you flourished. You were the storm they never saw coming, and now, as their empire crumbles beneath the weight of their own lies, you stand tall, stronger than ever before. The turning point had come. You had endured their attacks, their betrayals, their manipulations, and still you had remained standing. You had never been broken. The chosen one does not break. The chosen one rises no matter the odds, no matter the obstacles. You were not just a survivor of their schemes. You were the proof that no matter how hard they tried, they could never destroy you. And now, as their empire falls apart, it is clear to everyone who the true power lies with. The consequences of their actions were not just inevitable, they were precise. Divine justice, karma, fate, whatever you want to call it, was now catching up with them. They thought they could outsmart the universe, that they could control the flow of their destiny. But what they didn't understand was that the universe has its own plan, and that plan always comes to fruition. It may take time, but when the time comes, it is unstoppable. Their empire, built on deception and manipulation, was now paying the price for their actions. And as they scrambled to hold on to what little they had left, you were already moving forward, rising higher, stepping into your purpose. In the end, it was never about them. It was always about you. It was about the strength you found in silence, the resilience you showed in the face of adversity. While they were busy trying to break you, you were becoming something they could never understand. You were becoming the force they could never control. And now, as they watch their empire crumble, as they see their lies unraveling before their eyes, they realize the truth. They were never in control. It was always you. You are the chosen one, and no matter how hard they tried to bring you down, no matter how many attacks they launched against you, they could never take what was meant for you. And now, as their empire falls, you rise. You are the living proof that no one can stop divine destiny. No one can hold back the power that is meant for you. They thought they could control you, break you, and erase you. But in the end, they were the ones who were erased. And you're just getting started. As the dust settles and the consequences of their actions unfold, one truth remains clear. The chosen one stands victorious. The enemies who sought to break you to control your fate have fallen into the very trap they set for you. They underestimated your resilience, your silence, and the divine power that guided you every step of the way. While they thought they had orchestrated your downfall, they were unknowingly orchestrating their own. Their empire, built on lies and manipulation, has crumbled under the weight of its own deception, and now they are left to face the reality of their choices. You, chosen one, are the embodiment of divine justice. Your strength, your patience, and your unwavering belief in your purpose have carried you through every trial. You were never meant to be broken. You were meant to rise. Every attack, every betrayal only made you stronger. And now, as they fall, you continue to ascend untouched and unshaken. The very forces they used to control, deceive, and destroy you have turned against them. And their downfall is not a random twist of fate, but the inevitable consequence of their actions. Divine justice has a way of revealing the truth, and it never misses its mark. The chosen one is never alone in this journey. You were never abandoned, never left to face the storm on your own. God's hand was with you, guiding you through every dark moment, giving you the strength to rise above. And now, as your enemies watch in despair, you are stepping into your rightful place. Their time has come, and they have been exposed for who they truly are. The story doesn't end here. This is only the beginning of your rise. Your journey is one of purpose, of divine destiny. And no matter how many times they tried to knock you down, you will always stand tall. You are the living proof that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. You are the testimony of resilience, of strength, and of divine favor. So, chosen one, as you step forward, know this: your enemies may have tried to bury you, but they only planted the seed of your greatness. Now it's time for you to rise, to claim what is rightfully yours, and to show the world that the chosen one cannot be defeated. The victory is yours, and it's just the beginning.